It's live.
Hello, it's me again, Dawn from Always in Stitches in Noblesville, Indiana. I'm here today to talk to you about how to get started with wool applique. Now, I know I've done a lot of wool applique videos here, but we put together a special kit, and I wanted to talk to you about that, okay? The kit looks like this. It comes in this cute little project pouch. It's green, my favorite color, thank you very much. It comes with, let's just go through what all it comes with, okay? It comes with this little card.
Let me zoom in on that.
It shows you some of the stitches that are most popular when you're doing wool applique. Very nice reference. Then it comes with some wool and some needles, two of the most popular size needles for wool applique. Of course, the bigger one would be for bigger size thread. The smaller one, of course, smaller size thread. Doesn't that make a lot of sense? Does to me. And then a little practice piece that you could either use, you could frame it, you could make a pin cushion out of it, but pretty simple shapes, two round shapes that you would applique onto each other, and then a square. So just something to practice on, okay? So that's that. Then it comes with our business card, so if you ever need any help or need to call the shop for any reason. And then I've given you a little bit of pearl cotton size 12 to play with to work on your little project here. And it's a neutral color, so it'll go with anything. Okay? A lot of times they call these pennies because they used to use coins to trace around to make their penny rugs with in the olden days. And so a lot of times they only had one color available. It would either be a black or a gold. But today we're so privileged to have so many colors of thread and floss to use. You can use floss. I prefer pearl cotton, but anything that you have will work. But we give you a little pearl cotton. We give you a little pair of scissors. Green again, my favorite color. They aren't all going to have green in them because, you know, the whole world doesn't make just green scissors. So some of them will have other colors, but green for this package. A pair of tweezers. Now, these are good for when you have little tiny pieces and you have big chunky fingers and your fingers are getting in the way and you just need some precision. The tweezers are good for that. So I always have a pair of tweezers in my applique kit. This is like the Volkswagen where the clowns just keep coming out, you know what I'm saying? Okay, this is a fantastic marking tool. This is actually wet chalk inside this pencil or pen or whatever you want to call it. Pen, they call it a pen. It's a fine tip, and what's great about it is because it's wet chalk, when it dries, it doesn't dust off. If you were to just use a chalk pencil, and a chalk pencil is just simply chalk in a pencil form, and as you're handling and moving around with the applique in your hand, the chalk tends to dust off. Well, this chalk pencil needs steam, and steam is not harsh on wool. Wool will take steam just fine. So to get this off after you're done doing your stitching, you just simply steam your piece and the chalk will disappear. But it's not a harsh chemical, you know, like those friction pens. They're good for some things, of course, but I'm always afraid to use those on my actual top of my piece because I don't know what the chemical's going to do. And you know, 500 years from now, I still want my applique pieces to be around for, you know, the Goodwill people that are going to shop my pieces. So, because I have no children who will want my pieces. Maybe Peter will take them. He's younger than me. So anyway, I love this. Is the great tool for marking on wool again. And if you've already got some of this stuff and you just want to come and pick some extra of the things up, they're on the Notion wall here at the shop.
Can you use that chalk pencil for marking like on quilt fabric? Just
Certainly,
curious.
certainly. It'll mark on anything.
And it
It's
steams
white
off.
chalk.
Brushes off or steams off?
It steams off. It doesn't brush off. That's what we want. We wouldn't want a chalk that would brush off because
then
as
it
you
would
handle
disappear.
it, it just goes away, just like you're erasing chalk.
Uh-huh.
But because it's wet in a wet form. When it dries, it stays, and then it steams off.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Or you could take a little Q-tip with some water. You know, steam is just a good way to get moisture across your piece fast. So it's the moisture that's taking the chalk off. All right? And then we have some fray check, because sometimes when you're handling a big piece of wool, and like say for instance the background, and you keep handling it, and if you don't have fusible on it, it could start unraveling. So sometimes I will take the fray check, especially if it's a loose woven wool, and I'll fray check the edges just a little bit so that it stops that from fraying out. Fray check stops fraying. So that's a good product to have in your wool applique kit. And then another great thing is, as you get older, you're going to need one of these, definitely. And this is a needle threader. And it is awesome because it has a big end and a little end. I use the little end, but yarn people use this big end because it will thread one of those big darning needles, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if you're, I think those knitting people, they like whip stitch things and weave in their edges, and they use that big end. But I like this little end, and this is a really good, handy, small needle threader that you can carry in your kit. And then, of course, you get the nice little project bag. And I just love this. It has a little place here in the front for if you want to slide things in there, keep your paperwork in, and then it has a nice big gusset in it, so it carries a lot more than what you would think. And for your applique tools, you know, you can just throw this in a tote, throw it in a basket, and all your tools are right there together. So I do love that about this. It retails for $26.99 for all this to get started, wool applique. Now I did put out a lot of books that we are carrying. These are a wonderful selection of all kinds of books. We have Bright, we have some seasonal stuff, some primitive things. The only thing that's not in the kit that you absolutely would have to do wool applique is your fusible, your glue. How are you going to stick your applique pieces to the background? Well, there's a number of things you can use. I know ladies who use a stapler, just a household stapler, and they staple. Now, Peter's laughing because he thinks I'm making this up. I'm not making it up. I don't know if you're being
serious or real.
I'm being totally serious. Look at this face. That's my serious face right there. They take a stapler and they staple the pieces on. Oh. It makes perfect sense because then it's right in place. And then when you're done, you just take one of those staple removers and remove it. I don't know what Peter's laughing so hard about, because you can use pins, but you get prickled with pins. So it's the same thing as using a pin, but you're not getting prickled with them. Okay?
I couldn't imagine stapling a piece of wool.
You can't?
No, I can't.
It comes out really easy with a staple remover. So
I'll have to try it, I guess.
You will. Peter will do it together on Monday, okay? I will show Peter how to staple his wool applique pieces down. So then, this soft fuse is the product I use. It's very lightweight, so it doesn't gum up your needle. Boy, that's one thing you don't want. You don't want a fusible that's going to leave behind so much glue that it gums up your needle. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. So you want something that's lightweight that will still hold down the object, the shape, but not so much that it gums up your needle. So Soft Fuse is the product I really like. It says not to use steam. I use steam. Steam's the secret. Because the wool is much thicker than just a cotton fabric. So you need that steam to go through the wool. And so I just set my iron on the highest setting. And I steam. And I leave it there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As I am pressing. I don't iron. Okay, I press. And that will give you good fusion on your applique pieces. Another thing that I keep in my basket that I just have to have with me is this little book that keeps track of my Valdani threads. Now, I love Valdani, but you can use floss, you can use DMC, you can use the hand-dyed floss, you can use whatever kind of thread that you have, or textile, I can't think of the word I want to use. It's not thread, but it's fiber. Any kind of fiber that you want for your applique, but I prefer the Valdani. This is the Valdani labels right there.
What is it about Valdani that wins your heart over the other fibers that you can stitch wool with?
Okay, first of all the colors it comes in, and it's hand-dyed, so it's got a variegated look to it. It's not just a solid. Now, they do make solid colors, and that's fine. Sometimes you would need a solid color. But see how this one, the color changes a little bit, like it's really light there, and then it's really dark there. So I love the color. But why I like pearl cotton versus floss is because I like the way it lays. Pearl cotton is I don't want to say tube. It's a...
Does it have more fibers in the individual, like, yarn that's
No,
plied,
it's not actually... You wouldn't pull these fibers apart like you do on floss.
It's more like a rope.
Exactly, like a rope.
The way it lays next to each other.
What do you call that when it's a circle? Anyway, I'm not that smart. It's all round. It's one piece. I like the way it lays on top.
It's more rounded.
Rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lays on top of the wool instead of, you know how floss gets twisted, and if it's twisted tight, it's not the same circumference where it's really twisted tight versus where it's fluffier and it's not rounded.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it lays flat, sometimes they separate out on your project. This just, to me, has a more consistent, that's the word I'm trying to find, a more consistent look as you're using it. It doesn't get smaller, it doesn't lay flat, it's a tubular shape. And that's what I love about it, okay? So sometimes I will even use a 12-weight thread. 12-weight thread is about the equivalent of 2 strands of floss. And I have a huge collection of 12-weight threads, so that's one thing that I will go to. If I'm stitching on something really, really small, tiny, I will use 1 strand of floss even, okay? But that's if I'm like putting a beak on a bird that's, itty bitty. I will just use 1 strand of floss because it is tubular and it doesn't get flattened out. Just 1 strand, okay? So I hope I didn't confuse y'all with that. We went on a tangent with the thread. I'm sorry. But the reason I like Valdani again is because of all the color choices. Now this little book is a way I can keep track of what I have and what I don't have. I've showed you this book before, but it is page after page after page of all the colors. Now, do I own all the colors? No, but I'm working on that.
Not yet.
Because I am compulsive that way.
How's your Valdani passport coming along?
It is really building up. I'm really excited about it. Now, the last time I talked to you about these symbols up here. the item number, so that's what comes on the label. See, I was talking about the label, and then Peter interrupted me about what my favorite reason was. See that number 8? That's the size. Sometimes that'll say 5, sometimes that'll say 12. Because there's 3 different weights or 3 different sizes to the Valdani. And then there's a number down here after it says color fast. That's a really important reason why I use Valdani also. It's color fast. That means that if it should get wet from the steam, the color's not going to
transfer.
Spread out onto another piece. It's color fast. And then that other little number down there is the color number. So this just happens to be P12. So I'm going to find P12 here. And they're in alphabetical order or numerical order. So M, there's no N's. O, lots of O's. Lots of O's. And then here's P's. See that? So P12 is brown. Voila, there it is. P12 brown.
Oop, there it is.
This is size 8. So I put a little check mark right here, or I put a number. Because if I happen to have 2 balls of it, I want to know that. So there's a space for the size 12. There's a space for the 8. There's a space for the 5. And the last time I talked to you, I didn't know what this 3SF is. They do make floss, 3-stranded floss.
Oh.
So that's where you would keep track of your 3-stranded floss. We don't happen to carry that here at Always in Stitches, but if the wool department keeps growing, we might add that in. That's great for needle punch too, because usually you use 3 strands of floss for needle punch, so you don't have to separate out, and you can use it right off the ball, so you're not cutting different lengths. And it just goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and you don't have to thread your needle punch needle. So that's a super duper thing. So maybe if we got enough people coming in asking for it, we can get some of that in, okay? So this is my little Bible where I keep track of what Valdanis I have. Then I don't go anywhere without this book. This is the Bible for all wool appliqueurs, whether you're doing primitives, whether you're doing brights, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing wool applique, this is the book. And we're going to open it up, and I've showed it to you before. Now mine, I went to the office supply. I have 2 copies. I have one in pristine condition that's signed by Lisa Bongine, the author. And then I have another one that I had the binding cut off and put it spiral so that it'll lay flat when I'm working on it, when I'm working with it. Wool, needle, and thread. What more do you need? Well, food, okay, and sleep, and bread and water. But wool, needle, and thread. That's a pretty good start, okay? This book is so awesome because of the colored pictures. Supplies. It talks about the wool. It talks about felted wool. And then it talks about kits. Then here's some supplies. Look, fray check, voila. She uses this light steam-a-seam. I prefer the soft fuse. You're going to find things that some people suggest, and then you're gonna experiment, and you're gonna find things that work for you. For me, I don't like this light steam-a-seam. I prefer the soft fuse. It's pretty much the same product. This one's just gluier, okay? And it's sticky. I don't like that. Then she likes to have one of these circle templates, and I do too, but it wouldn't fit in our little pouch, so we didn't give you one. But you can get these anywhere. I think we do have them here. Then here's some marking tools that she likes to use, and there's our white marker that we included in our kit. You can get Sharpies pretty much anywhere, and a lot of you already have these friction pins. Then here talks about the Valdani. This is the floss. This would be the 12, the 8, and the 5. And then it talks about her needles. Now, here are 2 of her needles that we supply for you. These are chenilles. number 22s, and number 24 chenille needle. Now, ask me, Peter, what is it about chenille needles that make them the preferred needle?
The eye.
No, you're supposed to ask me.
That's a funny name, chenille.
Yeah, why would we use a chenille needle?
I have no idea. Why would
And
you?
what are the properties of a chenille needle?
Is that
a
there's so
good
many
question?
needles.
There's so many
needles.
Okay. It looks like at first glance to be like a tapestry needle that you use in cross stitch, does it not?
It does.
It has a nice big elongated eye that handles the fibers. And then what makes it different from a tapestry needle is this point. This is a sharp point where a tapestry needle is a dull rounded point. See the difference? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you want this because you're going through multiple layers of wool. So you want the sharp point at the end of your needle. Okay, also it's shorter. The needle is shorter. And that is good for when you're doing the handwork. The needle is not so big that it gets in your way because you're making one little stitch at a time. You're not doing multiple stitches. You're doing one decorative stitch at a time. And so your needle needs to be manageable so that you can do that and that the thread can wrap or go around or do what it needs to and that the needle's not in your way. So that's another good reason to use chenille needles. There's that needle threader again I was talking to you about.
I did have a question.
Okay.
Does that small end, does that work with other needles, or is it specifically a tool for the chenille needles?
The small end?
This section right here.
Oh, the small end.
That small end of the threader.
If your fiber is small that you're working with, of course, use the appropriate end of the needle threader. Okay, this is for bigger fibers and this is for smaller fibers. So like your flosses, your pearl cottons, things like that, you would use the small end. Even in cross stitch.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Wondering is like cross stitch is the eye big enough?
Yes,
oh,
it is.
Wonderful.
Because the eye is
I'm
the
getting
same.
old.
That's
getting
okay.
old.
The eye is the same in the chenille needle and in the tapestry needle. It's the end and the length of the needle that changes, okay? All right. And then now here's some super duper wonderful tools that Lisa uses. These nice scissors, Dovo scissors, and I have to admit I have a pair of those. They're very expensive scissors. I had to save a little bit to buy them, but they last me a lifetime. But you know what? Your Fiskar scissors, they cut wool. The main thing is just have a pair of scissors dedicated just for your wool, okay? It just makes it nice that they're always in your kit. Don't let your grandkids cut construction paper with them. And that, you know, they're designated for wool, not for any other reason than you just know that they're there. When you're ready to sit down and do some wool applique, you have a good pair of scissors that are going to cut through the wool. And just a new pair of good sharp scissors will do. I love these because they're weighted very nicely. They're very sharp. They remain sharp through your whole experience. These scissors will outlive me, obviously. So you might be able, when I die, find these at Goodwill, you know, because nobody's going to be around. These are her tweezers that she uses. She uses a very pointy tweezer. She uses a small rotary cutter because when you're doing your fusible web, you want just a general shape. You're not actually cutting the exact shape of the object. So for speed, she uses that little small rotary cutter to cut out her fusible. Then, of course, the big rotary cutter to cut her yardages of wool. She has some specialty rulers that are really nice for making stems that she uses. Then she has this mother of all mothers steam irons, okay? This is a professional steam iron. You don't have to go out and spend $500 on a professional steam enterprise, okay? You can just use your regular iron. Any regular iron will do that has that's capable of having steam. But something that you do want to look at is all the steam holes. You don't really want an iron that just has steam holes around the edge.
That's all I got.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, Santa could maybe bring you one that has more holes if you're going to do wool applique.
I'm going to have to stop being so naughty.
You are, because, you know, you only get coal from Santa if you're naughty. So, and I know him personally. So I know, I pretty much know what you're getting for Christmas. Okay? But anyway, this is nice because you want to have holes all the way on the pad of the iron, because then it distributes the wool, the steam better. Okay? All right. So can you see in this iron how many steam holes that one has? That's a lot of steam. But this is a steam unit. It's not really used for pressing or ironing. Of course, it's the only iron I have, so it's the one I use. But it's especially made for steam. And then the other best thing about this book is all the hand by hand, step by step, colored pictures. I love that about it. I mean, she leaves nothing out. Those are actually Lisa's hands.
It's rare to find a book that gives you that many pictures for each
Do you
step.
know how much color pictures, printing color pictures, this many in a book? It's outstanding for the price. I mean, look, just on how to thread the needle, you get this many pages of step-by-step instruction. How to thread it, how to knot it, how to cut your background, how to steam it. I mean, it's just wonderful. See here, she's using her fray check around the edge like I was talking about. This is just, and I'm a very visual person. I don't know about you, Peter, but
Visual.
I'm a very visual person. I
gotta
have
have my
to
pictures.
see, once I see it done, somebody can tell me how to do it. Somebody can show me how to do it. But if I can, in my own space, in my own time, if I can look at a picture and it actually goes this detail, step by step, how can I fail, right? I mean, it's just a reference tool that will keep on giving. I'll just go through it a little bit here. I don't want to go too fast. Then all the beautiful decorative stitches.
Does she go over those decorative stitches? And how
Well,
to do them?
in the back, there are
she
some.
does.
Look at that.
Oh, wow. So it's really like 3 books in one.
I'm telling you, it's like a Bible. It's like 59, I don't know how many chapters there are. I mean, how many books are in the Bible? How many books are in the Bible? I used to know that. I'm sorry, I will count them tonight when I'm doing my devotions. But anyway, don't think I'm a bad person because I don't know how many books are in the Bible, but there's a lot. And so that's why we call it the Bible. It's so many books in one
book.
in one book. And then she's got some cute little projects you can do here in the back. Look at that. So I'm saying to you, if you want to learn how to do wool applique, if you're interested at all, tell Santa you want this book. It's $28.99. Tell him you want some fusible web, some soft fuse, and tell him you want one of these beginning toolkits from Always in Stitches in Noblesville, Indiana, because they have everything that you need to learn how to do wool applique. And if they don't have it, it can't be found. Well, I'm not going to say that. Well, I just did say that, but I shouldn't have said that because, you know, there's always new stuff coming out. But we want to be on the cutting edge, don't we, Peter?
Absolutely.
We want to be on the cutting edge of all your needs for wool applique, because we are the place to come for wool applique, don't you think, in Noblesville anyway?
Yes.
Yes. So if you're anywhere in Indiana, we're centrally located. We are not very far from Indianapolis at all. You come and visit us. If you want to get started with wool applique, we're your place to go, okay? Come and see us. Have a very Merry Christmas. Tell Santa to come pick up some things for you. Alrighty, have a good day. Bye-bye.